Shalawam. I'm your brother Yahawashi from the branch of GMS, South Carolina Midlands. And before I start off, all praise, honor, and glory belongs to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, HaQadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who teach and who rule well. And Shalawam to Yahawah Elect scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. To you, I say Shalawam. Military draft. All right, December 2026. It says the automatic military draft registration takes effect in December. And, just reading a little bit into it, it says young eligible men will be automatically registered for the military draft pool starting in December as a part of a measure tucked into the annual defense policy bill Congress signed into law late last year. So they been had this on the table and for the books that they was gonna, issue forth this military draft for this third world war. And these are things that the elder apostles and the elder bishops and the men that have entered into their labors, all right, have been speaking about. The prophets of Yahawah have been speaking about for years, many years and decades before this even came. All right, before this third world war, got to this point. All right, to where now young men is about to be shipped off to fight for Sleazy E and his military. All right, it says men ages of 18 to 26. So, what that mean? Them YNs, all right, and rebellious Israelites. Okay, you go to war with your own people. Well, now you about to go to war for Sleazy E on the front lines. All right, and in this war, known as the meat grinder. You get shipped off over there, you're not coming back. Okay, and this is a judgment set, that Yahawah has for you in prophecy. All right, for you niggas to get deleted over there in, Western Asia or the so-called Middle East. It says men ages 18 to 26 must already register for selective service in case a draft is required. And we know that it's coming. Okay, DJ Trump, Nero, 47, and Benjamin Netanyahu and the small hatters, they're not gonna stop. All right, there will never be a ceasefire. There will never be peace. These are warmongers. Esau's blessing is the sword, and he is a man full of pride and greed, and a covetous man. They desire land and resources, and they're gonna keep taking. They're gonna keep colonizing, in the planet Earth, taking resources and taking lands from these heathens. All right, and right now we're in the midst of prophecy of the third world war, to where Babylon the Great is about to see its demise. All right, about to come to an end. And how beautiful, Yahawah it is that, we're approaching the 250th year anniversary of America, Babylon. All right, and it's looking like Yahawah very soon is about to take this place out, because we know that America will be destroyed, all right, in biblical prophecy. Okay, we know this third world war will be fought. All right, and these small hatters is the one dragging America, Babylon the Great into this third world war, the least of the flock. All right, and all these different heathen militaries, leaders is getting in alignment to destroy America, Babylon the Great, because they're getting fed up with America, Babylon, and the small hatters. All right, the whore and his pimp. But it says the last time a draft was in effect was February 1973 during the Vietnam War, and that was a pretty bloody war. All right, men coming back all jacked up. Some men not coming back at all. All right, but men that came back was messed up in the head, as war does to you. PTSD, all types of, messed up in the head, and injuries, maimed, But this third world war, this it's gonna be the last one. It's gonna be the bloodiest. It's gonna be the worst. It says the number of men selected for military service in the last 4 drafts, about 10.1 million men were drafted in World War II, more than triple that of World War One. And those those world wars, you know, is throughout prophecy. Okay, let me get Revelation 9 and I believe verse 12. It says, "One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter." So these are the 3 woes, world wars that would take place according to biblical prophecy. All right, and when we jump to Revelation 11 and 14, it tells us the second woe is past. So we already had World War One, which that came with a draft. We already had World War II, and that came with a draft that required more men, more bodies in the meat grinder. And it says, "And behold, the third woe cometh quickly." And how many men you think World War III is going to require? This is prophecy of Yahawashi and judgment of Yahawashi that will soon take place. So just counting the numbers, in World War I, 2.8 million men, all right, were selected for the military services or drafted. All right, in World War II, 10.1 million. All right, in the Korean War, all right, 1.5 million. You can see the dates: World War I, September 1917. All right, for November 1918, World War II, November 1940 to October 1946. The Korean War, June 50th to June 1953, and that was 1.5 million people. In the Vietnam War, all right, the last draft that was required, all right, 1.9 million bodies, all right. And it says from August 1964 to February 1973. So now, here in America, Babylon the Great, in 2026, as the report showing for December, all right, how many men is going to get drafted for this one? You can bet millions, okay? You could bet your bottom dollar millions. You YNs and you rebels and you Edomites, you heathens, is about to get shipped off, man. Okay, fight for your country that you so love. All right, you love so much. And it says automatic registration is ready in place in 46 states and territories according to the Selective Service Systems 2024 report. The SSS proposed a rule to the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs late last month to implement and practice nationwide. So, yeah, these are the times we're in, man. All right. And let me read this copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right, so fair use, not making any monetary gain. All right, off reading these articles or this video I'm about to play from a brother, the Hopeful Elect 3. Subscribe to his channel and be edified. All right, we're living in the times to where, as the scriptures say, we'll read it. 2nd Esdras 16 and 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. So these men are about to be shipped off to this Third World War to never be seen again. Come back in body bags, or not come back at all, rather. Be left over there as dung upon the ground, man. Okay? This is not your average conventional war that's going to be fought. You know, these militaries today have capabilities that's unfathomable and that you cannot fight against. You know, not as a mortal man. All right. Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5, it says, "Every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood." So, you know, you're talking about, you know, soldiers, boots on the ground. You know, going like in the ancient days, you had swords and staves, right? And even in recent, you know, battles, you got foot soldiers with the modern day swords, the guns. All right, but this right here, all right, ain't gonna be a fair fight. It says, "But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire," and we talking about an upgrade from World War II with the atomic bombs that you can, you know, look up and see the receipts that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on Ammon by the Edomites. All right, you know, we're talking about hypersonic nuclear weapons and capabilities. All right, that can wipe out whole states. All right, and with enough of them, gonna wipe off the whole landmass of America, Babylon the Great. Okay, and you know you're gonna have all types of missiles, drones. All right, that's gonna bring to pass the destruction and the fire. All right, that's gonna come of this third world war. All right, this third world war or woe. Okay, so you can see how these men are gonna be shipped off into war and never come back, and the virgins, all right, being these young women of marriageable age, shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, and the women shall mourn, having no husbands. So it's gonna be a lot of widows out here, man. All right, men. All right, that's gonna be taken from their wives. All right, and the women is just gonna be left. And that's how you can see why the effect of Isaiah 4 and 1 will come into to play concerning the elect Israelite man who's going to be protected during these times. It says, "Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine." So either going to get destroyed in this third world war or die of starvation for lack of bread. And ultimately, because Yahawashi is not going to be providing for them nor protecting them. All right, but for the elect Israelite man, all right, who's going to walk by faith, as I read this real quick, 2 Corinthians 5 and 7, "For we walk by faith and not by sight." All right, and that's through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that the Lord has given us and believing in the Lord and his word. It says, Isaiah 4 and 1, "In that day so few men will be left that seven women," which is a complete number of women, "will fight for each man." All right, in the KJV, one man, and that is the elect Israelite man, who Yahawashi is going to be having his hedge around in these times. All right, no matter what dire strait they're going to be finding themselves in, Yahawashi is going to be right there with them. And it's going to be seen, it's going to be evident, and those women are going to recognize, oh, those men, all right, are protected by Yahawashi. And what's going to be their mindset? Saying, "Let us all marry you." And how they going to marry us? Through sex. The real consummation of marriage through sex. "We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids." So all this single and independent woman and not needing no man, all right, and walking carelessly, all right, throughout Babylon the Great and throughout the world is going to go out the window. The stock of the Israelite man and the elect Israelite man is about to go out the roof. Okay? And that's why for us brothers, you know, we shouldn't be concentrated and focused on women. All right? You know, I know myself as a young man, I've had my fair share of scars, We know that they prophecy our women are going to be harlots in the city, you know, and through the knowledge, the wisdom that, Yahawah given me, and through the experiences of my older brothers in this truth, the knowledge that they kicked to me, you know, hey, I know how to operate out here. And we can see it. The American Babylonian women, especially our women, the Israelite women, are out of order. Okay. And good luck trying to find a virgin. Okay. Yahawah going to have, select elect women for the elect men out here in these days, man. Okay. But Isaiah 13:12, it says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold. So meaning our stock is going to go up. We're going to be precious in this time because the Lord going to give us power. The Lord going to have the angels protecting us. The Lord going to be performing miracles for his elect men. And the women is going to see that and cleave to that elect man. Okay. Remember, scripture has to be fulfilled. She will be saved through childbearing. All right. Pertaining to those elect ladies out there, man. Those elect women that will be, joined to a man of the Lord, man. Elect Israelite man. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of old fur. All right. And that, we're going to be your protection in that time, man. As the Lord protecting us, we're going to be protection unto you women out there. Isaiah 32:2, it says, a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind and a covert from the tempest, as the rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a rock in a weary land. So you can picture the desperation that's going to be on these women, as these calamities and the anarchy and the chaos is going to be taking place, and the deletions, the mass deletions is going to be happening out here, and the elect men is going to be good. We're going to be your hedge. Just as Yahawah is our hedge. All right, women is going to come back under the order. Just like we're coming back under the order of Yahawah, women going to come back under the order of the Israelite man. That's just the times it's going to be. Okay, Jacob's trouble. All right. So I did go into the chat, and I asked, what is the penalty for skipping the military draft? It says, just reading the point, getting straight to the point. It says not registering for selective service ages 18 to 25. So chat is saying 18 to 25, and the article said 18 to 26. So within that range, it says, by law, most men must register, with the selective service. Penalties can include up to a $250,000 fine, which most men don't have out here. I know I don't have it. But it says up to 5 years in prison. So you try to skip, all right, you don't get get registered, or pretty much appoint yourself to fight in this draft or in this war. You can get up to $250,000 fine and up to 5 years in prison. Okay, for not registering. It says more commonly enforced consequences: loss of federal student aid, ineligibility for many federal jobs. Some states, no driver's license or renewal, no access to certain state programs. It says prosecutions are rare, but the benefit restrictions are actively enforced. All right, it says refusing to serve if a draft is active. The U.S. does not currently have an active draft, only registration. But if anyone were to reinstate, if one were to reinstate it and you refuse, possible consequences: criminal charges, federal offense, jail time, defines a permanent criminal record. Okay, and it gives you legal ways you can, not be drafted. Conscientious objector status, religious or moral opposition to war, which that's pretty much gonna go out the window. It's gonna be draconian measures. Once all this, hits the fan. All right, and this is implemented. Medical exemptions. I believe if you were caught smoking weed, you couldn't serve in Esau's military. All right, but that's going out the window. It says other deferments depending on circumstances. And we know that Esau is just going to up the military draft number, all right, age, and all the requirements is going to go out the window. They just going to need bodies for this Third World War. So, yeah. And this is going to bring about, civil unrest. Okay, this is going to bring about us being cast into prison. All right, because we ain't fighting for Esau's military, man. Okay. We know that we stand on the side of Yahawah, and this is not our fight. This is not our war. And for all you Israelites out there, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, it's not your fight. It's not your war. Okay? We know what's going to be the end result of Babylon after this Third World War. So I made a point. It's gonna spark civil unrest, man. Civil war. Because, most men do not want to fight in this Third World War, man. All right. Jeremiah 51, I believe it's verse 30. Yep, it says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed them. So most of these men don't even want to fight for the American or the Babylonian military, man. All right. America doesn't have that same might that it once had in the planet Earth, man. All right. And this is not your average war. These hypersonic missiles, man. You don't want to play with it, man. All right. You can be destroyed in an instant. And they're calling, going over there to fight against Iran, especially with the terrain, the mountainous regions, and how vast it is. That's a suicide mission. And these Babylonians, these Americans know it, man. All right, and plus they know that they're fighting on behest of this tiny tops, Amalek. Okay, DJT is following the beck and orders of Amalek, man. It says they became as women. They're scared to fight. Okay, most of the men and the women that signed up in the military signed up for the benefits. Housing, schooling, health benefits. To get the bonus, money. Okay, they didn't actually think that they was gonna actually have to fight, man. Okay, and they're afraid right now, man. Okay, biting their nails. It says they have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. So this place is over, man. Okay, like I said, it's gonna spark civil unrest, man. Isaiah 19:2, it says, I will set the Egyptian. Let me read verse 1. It says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord, Yahawah rideth upon a swift cloud. And that's Yahawashi. Yahawashi, he returns in the midst of World War III. Okay? He comes to a world of chaos and on fire. All right? And division. Okay? And the swift cloud is the so-called UFO. And it says, and shall come into Egypt. Where's that? America, Babylon the Great. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Yeah, all these idols. And this place is full of idolatry, man. All right, these people just got done celebrating Easter, which is an idol to Ishtar. And, these people in Babylon, they worship sweet white man Jesus. They worship Allah, Buddha. They celebrate Christmas for Nimrod. They worship Baal. It's full of idolatry, and all those idols gonna be moved, all right, when Yahawashi as he's visiting this place, man. Okay, the true power of the heavens and the earth, man. Okay, because none of those idols are going to be able to save you in these times. It says, and I will set the Egyptian Americans against the Egyptian, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, and that's what? Civil war, civil unrest. Okay? You know, you're going to have the people fighting against the government, and you're going to have the people fighting against one another. Okay? So we living in the exact times that Yahawashi said it would be, and that is Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble. Okay? You got red-blooded Americans that's against DJT in this war campaign with the small hatters. Okay? And then you got those that's blindly following, Nero 47. So you got great division here. Okay? And us Israelites, we ain't gonna be involved with it. It ain't our fight. We watching our enemies fall right before our face. Okay? And it's beautiful. Right now, spiritually, we spiritually preparing for the battle, man. All right? The spiritual battle that we're involved in, and, getting our spirits right, okay? Because it's going to be a time predicated on faith, not by getting through it by carnal means or the flesh, So I'm going to play this video from the brother, the Hopeful Elect 3. Subscribe to his channel and be edified, all right? And stay up to date, all right?
Hey, TikTok family, how's everybody doing? Y'all, I think I'm beginning to let this bullshit get to me.
That's a great precept as well. Isaiah 19:4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them. And that's Trump. That's Nero. Nero don't give a damn what the Americans or the Egyptians got to say about what he's doing, his actions. They don't give a damn, how the Americans feel or how much they're being taxed and how much they're being squeezed out of their money and how hard it is to live in Babylon the Great. And that the Babylonians, these Egyptians, these Americans, they don't want to fight in this Third World War. He don't give a damn. All right? When all hell breaks loose and he gets, full control, he declares martial law and states the draft. It's going to be real draconian. You either do what is being enforced, okay? Or you're going to be seen as an enemy of the state. And this is that cruel Lord, man. Okay? It says, the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahawashi, the Lord Yahawashi of hosts.
I have been feeling so damn down today. Okay, every time I turn my TV on or social media, they talking about how people are being treated with this TSA and this damn war. And now he's talking about making people enlist in the military and shit. This is some bullshit. I just, it's irritating. It's sickening. It's just truly sickening, because every fucking
day. I believe it. She's talking about TSA, the temporary government shutdown. The TSA workers wasn't getting paid. A lot of them wasn't even coming to work. They had to bring in ICE, which that brought in, bring in turmoil, because how ICE been treating the Babylonians, specifically the Israelites, okay, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, especially Northern Kingdom. The flight times, was getting crazy. To wait for flights is like 8-9 hours, maybe even longer. Okay, but hours to get on the flight, and then when you try to get to your flight, it gets canceled right when you get there. All right, all because you didn't want to pay the TSA workers, but they got money to fund the war and to fund ICE and to send money to the small hatters and to send money over to Venezuela. Everything outside of funding money to Babylon. This is the cruel Lord. All right. And now they're saying he with his campaign, he said he wasn't going, he wanted to end wars. Now he started a war with the small hatters. Okay. It wasn't going to be no ground invasion. Now it's about to be a ground invasion. This is the cruel Lord. Okay. And this is the devil. He speaks with a forked tongue. He says one thing, but the whole while, like the scriptures say, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart, in his mind. Okay, and ultimately the Lord, Yahawashi, putting it on his spirit to be this cruel Lord, as the Lord controls the king, the mind of the king. All right, all these kings, all these rulers, including the wicked elite. All right, which Trump gets his beckoning orders from the wicked elite, the small hatters, the Amalek. All right, so everybody get a precept. Proverbs 21 and 1, the king's heart, meaning his mind, the Hebrew word la'ab, is in the hand of the Lord. Yahawashi, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So Trump doing the bidding of Yahawashi. Okay? The Lord got him going this hard, man, and being this cruel. Okay? And it's going to get worse.
Today, there's something happening in this administration. And the sad part about it is, ain't nobody in the goddamn universe trying to do anything to stop this damn monster. And that's just sickening to me, because I never thought that we, United States of America, would have a dictator. I'll be honest, I never, ever, ever thought that we would stoop so low till we can't even manage our own country, that a white man would take over and try to and become a dictator and want to, ruin the people, ruin the country, and put people into bondage and prisons and all that shit, and put their own ICE agent out there to kill and disrupt people's lives. I never, ever, I'll be perfectly honest, I never, ever would have thought this in this country. Yes, I believe in the slavery. Yes, I believe in African American being treated wrongly. But we worked on ourselves for many, many years. A lot of us have just gotten to a point where we can rest assured. And then here come this white motherfucker deciding, it ain't happening. So
He ain't supposed to be resting, man. He ain't supposed to be getting comfortable. All right. Micah 2:10. It says, "Arise ye and depart." And what does that mean? To get up and pack your bags and literally depart and get out of Babylon, America? No. All right. It's talking about mentally, spiritually. Flee from this place, man. Okay. Return to Yahawashi. Repent. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." Why? This is the land of your captivity, the land of the oppressors. All right, and this is a future land that will be destroyed, man. All right, it says, "Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction." You continue to take on the ways of Babylon, continue to partake in the idolatry and the abominations and the wickedness. You're going to be defiled with this place, and you're going to be destroyed with it. Okay? But as hopeful members of the elect, man, we know exactly that this place is, for, punishment, judgment of us as Israelites for being disobedient against our power. And this is a place to where, we will, discontinue from our heritage, pursuing Jeremiah 17:4. And it is also the place where we will remember ourselves, man, so pursuant to Baruch 2:30. And we remember, we returning back to Yahawashi, and we recognize that this is not the kingdom. This is not where it ends. Okay? We have no continuous city here, but we seek one to come. And that's the kingdom of heaven. And it's not going to be here in America, Babylon the Great. This place is going to be destroyed and it's going to be a wasteland. The Lord is coming to gather us, all right, and bring us back to our holy land, Israel. You know, after that's cleansed and, destroyed, ridded of them small hatters and built back up by the heathens, man. Okay? Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, Yahawah, it shall no more be said, the Lord, Yahawah, liveth that brought the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, ancient Egypt. But the Lord, Yahawah, liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, being America, the main place of our captivity, where so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were put into captivity, bondage, and oppressed together, pursuant to Jeremiah 50:33. All right? And from all the lands whither he had driven them, we've been scattered via captivity in all heathen nations and lands, man. Okay? And we will wake up. We're waking up now through this truth, via this truth. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So showing you that as a future salvation. And the Lord is going to be the one to physically place us back into the holy land promised unto our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For we are the true descendants, the Israelites. So it's not your rest. You're not supposed to get comfortable here in America, man. The Lord is going to come and get us and deliver us and give us rest and sovereignty and immortality and power, man, over these heathens.
Little frustrating, but as you know, we don't have the option to stop. We don't have the option to lay down. We have to keep it pushing. So I'm just saying, I'm tired. I'm ready to quit my damn job and just work from home. That's probably what I'll do, because I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of hearing people cry about what happened to them since this administration. I know people that worked on a farm and working as farmers, they crying about it. And I'm like, how in the world do one man have the opportunity or even want to destroy this country? But then again, as you know, we just lived in this country. We didn't really know what was going on. We knew that there was, a little black issues with our people, but we still just kept going, kept it pushing. And that's kind of what I did with my life, most of my life. So now I'm older, ready to retire and shit. And this dumb motherfucker done popped up in the world. I just like, can we breathe? Can we fucking breathe from you motherfuckers? We ain't gonna never be able to breathe. It's just gonna be like this until each one of us passes earth. I'm not ready to live like this. I'm gonna live my own goddamn life. And the hell with these white folks. Y'all can crumble this bitch. Okay? I'm just gonna do my own thing. So I just thought I'd get on here and say how y'all doing. Keep the faith. Let us not give up. Keep it pushing. Encourage our family, encourage our children. But we must keep going. I just thought I'd let that off my chest, because sometimes I get so damn mad, I want to just scream to the top of my goddamn voice. So white folks can just like, what the fuck? Aren't you guys fucking tired of fucking with us? Aren't you? God damn, we must be some very, very important people. But I get it. I get it. You just can't trust. You cannot trust the process anymore. You just can't. Trust your own and trust God. Anyway, I'm about to get ready and go to bed. I got to go to work tomorrow, so. Anyway, take care. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, these devils ain't gonna never stop fucking with us, man. That's why we need Yahawah, Yahawashi. Okay? Ain't gonna be no doing your own thing. It's gonna be, we on the program of Yahawah, Yahawashi, man. Alright? We with what the Lord's will is, and that will is, to send forth his son, Yahawashi, to gather his elect, destroy Babylon the Great. Take these heathens out of power, man. That's the will of Yahawah, to establish Israel back into power perpetually, man. Alright? That's the program that, we're on, But I'll end this thing off, man, not to be long-winded. Romans 13 and 11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. So if you any Israelites on the fence, it's time to repent, wake back up, come back to your power. Bahasham, Yahawashi, have faith in his word and his promises, and know that the Lord is going to make good on it, man. In these times that, we're living in, it's going to be predicated on your faith. You walking in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that Yahawah has given us. It says, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. Yahawashi is on his way, man. Okay? He's the solution to everything. Okay? But, we got to go through. We got to go through this tribulation, man, before we get to that kingdom. But the kingdom is around the corner, man. Lord will is edifying to the elect. With that, I say shalom. Shalom to the whole full elect.